Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We're from Group 12 and today we're going to talk about literary material. This is our group members. My name is Fadiah Nur Shabrina and there is my partner Bintang Adiat Falak. First is let's talk about the quotation. Identify any quotation that are to be displayed, set in smaller type than the text or indented, for example, if they are not clearly distinguished. Make sure that it will be immediately obvious to the typesetter where such a passage is to begin and end, especially if the quotation starts or finishes in the middle of a line. See that sources are sensibly placed. Next is prose. It is usual to display prose quotation of more than say 60 words, but you could use other criteria. For example, first, run on those that form of an integral part of the sequence of the argument and display the examples on which the author is commenting. Second, display small quotation when they are of exactly the same kind as those over 60 words or very long and short ones are grouped. Third, display all the quotation that the author has displayed in the typescript. In order to give the beginning of the passage a neater appearance, some publishers do not intend the first line of display prose quotation, even if it was originally the beginning of a paragraph. However, if a quotation contains short lines of dialogue and the first speech is only one line, it looks better to indent the first line. Like this example, really? I thought you knew that. How could I? First, it is usual to display first if there is at least one complete line. If the author runs some first on in the text, consider whether it should be displayed or, if not, whether line breaks should be indicated by the capital letters. And or space oblique or upright strokes, stroke are the only complete clear way. Place. If there are quotation for different place, it is probably sensible to standardize the layout and typographical style used for speech prefixes or speakers' names, and the stage direction unless the differences have some significance. Quotation in footnotes. As the footnotes will already be in a smaller size of type than the rest of the text, prose quotation may be better run on in the text of the note than indented. Short first quotation are usually displayed. Two, they may be run on with space, oblique, or upright stroke to indicate line breaks. Quotation marks are also called quotes or inverted commas. When to use them, display quotation have not quotation mark at the beginning and end, unless there is any possible ambiguity. If a quotation are distinguished only by the use of quotation marks, and more than one paragraph is quote, an opening quote should appear at the beginning of each paragraph. Dialect from novel retains its own quotation mark even when displayed, but display quotation from plays never need quotation mark. Single or double quotes. In British style, single quotes are normally used except for the quotation within quotation. For example, he described the scheme as totally unworkable. The standard US style is double quotes with single within double, where two sets of quotation mark occur together. They should be separated by a thin space, and you might need to mark this for the typesetter. Since display quotation have no quotes at the beginning and end, quotation within them will have single quotes. For example, he described a scheme as totally unworkable. Punctuation and closing quotes. The position of the full point depends in theory on whether the quote sentence is a complete one, as it is impossible to be certain about that without checking the origin source. Many publishers follow a rule of thumb that the full point precedes the closing quote if the quotation contains grammatical complete sentence starting it with a capital letter. For example, I have often heard you say it cannot be done. Style within quotation. Follow copy capitalization, italic, and punctuation are normal for spelling. However, it is usual to normalize typographical conventions such as the use of single quotes and or rules for parenthetical basis, italic or Roman punctuation, and the position of punctuation with closing quotes. Tell others what you want plan to do and try to dissuade them from returning unnecessary distinctions. If they insist, tell the typesetter to follow copy. Next is accuracy. Ask the author about possible transcription errors, for example, misspelling, unlike punctuation and passages that do not make sense. Look out also for the occasional British spelling when a British author quotes a US source and vice versa. Next is translation. In a book on literature in another language, where quotation are accompanied by translation into English, the translation of longer displayed passages may be displayed below them or given in footnotes, but translation of short passages should be parentheses in the text. Next is copyright. As you go through the TypeScript, look for quotation that will need copyright. Check the permission has been obtained where necessary. Next is sources. The source should include the author and work. If these are not obvious from the text, in scholarly books, the page number or line number and full publication details should also be given in the first time the source is mentioned. A shorter form is acceptable for subsequent mentions. Poetry. Where poetry occurs a part of the main text, for example, a play where prose is interspersed with verse or song, it should be set in the same size as the rest of the text. Display poetic quotation may also be set in text type if this will not mean a large number of turnover lines, and if small type is not used for prose quotation. Indexes. Books of poems usually have an index of the first line, plus an index of author if there are many and they are not arranged alphabetically in the books. Indexes of title are more unusual. For the plays, there's list of characters. The list should be on the left hand page facing the beginning of the play, so it will be often be preceded by half title to avoid a blank right hand page. See that all the characters are included in the list and are spelled the same way as in the play itself. Next is stage direction. Stage direction are usually set in italic, often with the names of speaking characters distinguished by being set in Roman, either small capitals or upper and lower case. Single sentence often do not end in a full point. The next material will be explained by Bintang.
We move to the speech prefixes. Characters' names are usually abbreviated and set in small capitals, though italic upper and lower case may be used if long names are given in full. The disadvantage of italic is that it may not be clearly distinguishable from stage direction or any italic in the first line of the speech. See that abbreviated forms are consistent and unambiguous. In solding spelling text, the speech prefixes are often made consistent even though the original inconsistent spellings are retained in dialogues. We move to the broken line in verse place. If a line in a verse is split between two or three speakers, the beginning or the second, the third speech align with the end of preceding one. Broken line count as a single line in the line numbering to run such a profession. The example, Leontio how mother such a creature, to draw her from her fortune, which no doubt. We move to the act of served numbers. Act and scene numbers that did not appear in the original edition, for example in Shakespeare's plays, may be set full outright other than in the outer margin to save work at the proof stage. The usual convention nowadays is to use Arabic figures for act, scene, and line numbers. With a point between them, a more traditional system is not use capital Roman numerals for act number, lowercase Roman for scene numbers, and Arabic figures for line numbers. Act and scene may be capitalized, but line is not. Move the performing rights. If the play is in copyright, there may need to be notice in the permanent pages about performances. We move to the running heads. The act and scene number should appear in the running head. It may be set in the short form and the inner edge of each page, or in a fuller form it could be used as the right hand running head or Act 5 left hand scene 3 right. Abbreviation in Shakespeare's plays. F1, F2 are commonly used for the first and second folios, and Q and for quarter. Characters' names are frequently abbreviated. See that a consistent system is used. If very little has been abbreviated, these two should follow one of the standard systems such as that used in the New Cambridge Shakespeare's New Heads rules also has usable list. we move to the anthologies and collection of essays. With an anthology of modern poems, the greatest problem for the copy editor is likely to be the wording and the placing of acknowledgments to suit both British and American copyright holders. A full search and acknowledgement may be given at the end of each piece for only the author's name, and the title of the piece may be given in the text. All the acknowledgement being listed in the primary pages. In the volume of pre-printed papers, the search may be given immediately below the heading of each paper. In the footnote on the first page of each paper, on the content list or editor's preface. If an essay photography printed, you cannot enforce any consistency other than the chapter titles and running heads. If an essay has been recreated by the volume editor or is to be recreated by a typist, capitalization and spelling in the text may be made consistent, and consistent system of bibliographic references must be implemented if this will not result in disproportionate amount of work. Writers sometimes edit their essay for publishing, perhaps to keep them from becoming out of date. See that it is made clear how much the essay has been changed. If the essay has been published in a book, there might be cross-reference that should be expanded or removed. Also, the bibliographic references may be incomplete as the complete form is given and the list the end of original publication. Scholarly edition. In the follows, volume editor is used to mean the editor of the particular book or text as against commissioning editor. How closely to follow the style of the original. Very occasionally, the comment may be reproduced as Gmail. More often, it will be edited or recreated. The volume editor and commissioning editor must be decided how closely the edition should follow the original, and the decision will depend on whether they want to make available what the author said, or the way in which he or she described it. Old-style spelling or lavish capitalization may act as a barrier between the modern reader and the argument. Marginal notes superscript may make taken book more expensive. Obtain the volume editor's agreement to any change you propose to make the style, and see that preface or textual notes make clear how closely the text has been followed. Number 1 is converting handwritten material into type. Once manuscript is converted into type, it is longer no facsimile edition, and there is no point in retaining factors that belongs to manuscript. For example, single underlining usually becomes italic, double underlining small capitals. Ampersand are normally spelled out because they can look very obtrusive when set in the type. Number 2 is typographical. It is usual to normalize typographical conventions such as the use of single quotes. In our own rules for parenthetical dashes, italic, Roman punctuation, and the position of punctuation with closing quotes. Some volume editors want the original printer's host the style retained, including such practices as renewing the quotation marks at the beginning of every line. Try to dissuade the volume editor from retaining unnecessary distinction. If you are unsuccessful, explain the volume editor's preferences if in the note to typesetter and proofreader so that they do not try to correct them. Number 3 is layout and headings. It is usual to standardize the layout unless this would mislead the reader. As in transcript encryption, if inscription must be transcribed for line, say so. For prose, it is more usual to show line breaks in the original by a single vertical or oblique line. Such strokes are usually spaced if they occur between words, closed up if they occur within words. Page division in the original may be indicated, if necessary, by double vertical or oblique strokes, with the original page or volume number between the stroke or in square brackets after them. Marginal headings may be taken into the text as subheadings, used as running heads, printed as footnotes, or omitted. Consult the designer if they are retained. They may appear in the author, usually by the margin, rather than in the left-hand margin as they might have done in the original manuscript. Warn this volume editor about this. If the date is part of headings to each letter, may be omitted from a letter itself. If in the address in the date or include, it is usual to follow the original as to whether they are replaced at the beginning and the end of the letter. May not for the exact position. The line division in the parts of validation may be followed by not the exact position of each part of the signature. Signatures may be set in small capitals. Number 4 is spellings, superscripts, capitals, italic, and punctuation. In the textual studies and definition edition of pre-19th century works, modern diaries, notebooks, letter, old or idiosyncratic spelling and is often retained, with the exception of E or G, U or V, and long S. Some fonts today have no long S, but if long S is to be retained, F is not adequate substitute. A Roman F has a completely crossbow, where a long F S has only a tiny stroke at the left hand. Similarly, an italic long S is like an italic F but without any crossbow. Superscript letters and titles in constructive are anomalous to modern usage unless there are good reason to the construction. Spelling errors are rarely worth preserving, where they should be inserted in only where the mistake changed and since, for example, he or she. In the making 17th and 18th century works available for their subject matter rather than for textual study. The volume editor may be capitalized and italicized according to the more moderate modern practice, and may also be punctuated in the modern style. In addition of correspondence, it is usual to provide a missing capital letter at the beginning of sentence and missing full point in the end of one. Editorials change to the text. 1. Author's alterations. Additions and deletions. A published edition usually provides the final or best version of the text if more than one version exists. The best version may include words from various versions, plus the volume editor's own conjectural readings. Volume editors should make clear in the preface or in the notes that the relevant points exactly what they have done. They will normally annotate only the variants, the change, the sense, or addition or all alteration in the manuscript that indicate it's a significant change of mind on the author's part. But if they are discussing the author's alteration to the draft of a poem, the only clear way may be to publish the text with crossed out words, the alteration immediately above them. If some material deleted by the author is of actual interest, may be printed in the footnote, or it may be printed in the text and suitable annotated. And number 2 is additional omission and addition. Unless they are covered by cardinal note in the preeminent pages, all omission and addition should be clearly identified. Omission within a paragraph are usually indicated by an ellipsis of 3 points. If a full points are to be retained, the editors must include them into the copy and make clear whether they precede or follow ellipses. Omission of one or more lines of text or more paragraphs or prose are usually distinguished from smaller omission. If one or more number sections are omitted, write say no section 8 ringed in the margin to reassure the typesetter that no text is missing. Editorial addition should be within square brackets. If you think some of the parts in the text should be square brackets, ask the volume editor. List of characters. The list should be a left-hand page facing the beginning of the play, so it will often be preceded by a half title to avoid the blank right-hand page. See that all the characters are included in the list or spelled the same way as the play itself. Copy for the typesetter. The edition is to be received from a 19th or 20th century edition, and the volume editor has made a very few changes that the edition itself or clear photocopies of it are probably the best copy. Alternatively, if the original print is good quality, it should be possible to scan it. Photocopies of earlier printed versions are often much more difficult to read and not clear enough for scanning, so it might be best for the volume editor to recreate the text. If the text is not possible, the volume editor should mark up the photocopies as clearly as simple as possible, with a minimum of marginal marks. The publisher might ask to see some sample pages in advance of the rest, to check the text will be sufficiently clear for typesetter. The next is preliminary pages. The copyright notice will probably have to be qualified because the text itself may not be in copyright. For this may need to be two notices, one of the text and one for editorial material. If the text has already been published, the date of first publication should usually be given on the first row of the title page, in addition to the date of your own edition. If the author wrote a preface or introduction to the text, the volume editor's introduction will have to be called editorial introduction or something similar. We move to the notes. If the volume contains a number of separate texts, such as letter or inscription, each text may have an introductory note. The other main notes may be placed at the end of relevant text or at the foot at the page or at the end of the book. A volume of correspondence may have biographical notes if there are a large number of people who appear only spasmodically. If it probably best to have all the biographical notes in a separate section preceding the index, so that the reader can find the relevant note easily. We move to the glosses, commentary, and textual notes. If a verse has short lines and the glosses are also short, its gloss may be placed beside the irrelevant line. The gloss words need to be identified if there is no change of confusion. Alternatively, the gloss may be placed at the foot of the page or the end of the poem or extract. Each gloss being preceded by line number if any and the word is explained. If the glosses are annotated, words must be identified in text. Each of them may be followed or preceded by an asterisk, degree sign, or other symbol. Line numbers. The line numbers for prose passages for passages that contain both prose and verse, for example, some scene in Shakespeare's plays, cannot be known until the text has been typeset, because the prose will not be set line for line. So the line numbers cannot be inserted in the notes until the text is set. An alternative is to use a system of cues, such as italic lowercase letters for textual notes. This removes the need for the line numbers, but works best when the annotation is paired so that the text does not become cluttered. Illegible or missing letters in the original. Where known numbers of letters in a script are totally illegible, it is usual to indicate each illegible letter by a point, hyphen, or an roll, and so you must keep the same numbers as in TypeScript. Where the letters are almost illegible but may be guessed at, the conjectural letters may be placed within angel brackets. It does not really matter what convention the volume editor employs, provided that they are consistently used easy for the reader to follow. They should be explained in the preliminary pages. Oral text. A foreign text may have a translation on the facing page, or two versions of the same text may be printed on the facing page or for comparison. Discuss with the volume editor which version should be on the left-hand page and which the right-hand. Our translation should be probably follow the original and so be in the right-hand page. So you might need to give the typesetter some indication of how the parallel text should be kept in step. Only the lines of the original text need to be numbered, because no prose translation can be exactly for line. Check out the layout careful in the proofs.